went through the information. You all know it. I know it. Don't believe what I'm saying. You're an idiot. You're stupid. Do I think he's protecting himself? I don't know, Gary. Do I think, as the last guy double stated, that he's protecting the wealthy people around him and maybe it's easier to have a little leverage over them doing it this way? Hey, Gary, I don't know. If I'm not like Jason, I believe, well, it's probably best to keep all the information tucked away until after his term because it could just tear down the country. Fine. If that's the terrible logic you think that we should protect the pedophiles, I don't want to say the word. I don't know the logic. And I know that one guy is in here or what he was in here recording, but you know what I mean. The P word. If I feel like we need to protect them just so we can have some sense of status quo that we no longer actually carry in this country, hey, as long as that makes you able to sleep at night, you believe what you want to. Let's get to the question. The question is, should Congress release the Epstein files? Yes, we all agree. We all should agree. We all should agree it shouldn't take a minute longer, a day later, or a second too fast, or a second too slow, because those little girls, who are now women, are still sitting around watching their abuser get rich, their abuser stay under the radar, their abuser have to face any justice. Those little girls could be your children, snatched away from your house, leaving school, going to school, sent to a place she has no clue about, trained and tailored by a woman who has only tactics in her life is to make sure the man that she's serving enjoys the pleasure that your child who was kidnapped is now have to give. Working a summer job, and now your daughter from that summer job is being hit on by millionaires offered gifts, and now she's being taken advantage of on someplace you don't see her anymore. Again, if we're going to continue to try to protect these guys, just say that in your opening monologue, in your analysis conversation. Everybody seems to have analysis. Nobody has an opinion anymore. In your analysis conversation, just say, you know what? I don't want him to lose. And I'm speaking of Donald. I don't want him to lose in this situation. So we'll just protect the pedophiles. Because that's what we're doing when we don't bring justice for those women. Those girls are now women. Imagine that. Imagine your daughter having to do 10 years of having some type of sexual abuse from somebody that's not in your family also. A stranger, a wealthy man, a man you probably could not touch if you had the opportunity to. And now he gets an additional 10 to 15 years. And now he gets an additional 3 to 6 months. He gets an additional 2 or 3 days. He gets an additional week of freedom. Because the public's parties that we chose decided it's easier to protect them than it is to protect your children. It's amazing. It's amazing to witness. I did not see what happened today. I knew it was coming. I watched something just yesterday, and they spoke about having those women on the steps at 10:30. I was asleep this morning, but I plan on watching it the moment I get off here because I want to see the women who have finally spoken up about something that the American people are trying to be taught to forget about. They're trying to teach us to forget about it in real time. Yeah, I can't say the president has done anything wrong outside of what he's currently doing. Trying to belittle a fact that we all know are facts. I don't know if he touched girls. I know he's a creep. We've all seen evidence of that. He's been liable for that. I don't know if he likes little women. Little girls, not little women, little girls. But I'm watching him actively try to move the goalpost so little girls don't get justice. I'm watching him move the goalpost so rich, wealthy men don't have to face prosecution that they deserve. So maybe he's not on the Epstein files as some type of participant, but now he's participating at the highest of levels. And that's going to hinder, again, I said this the last time we talked about Epstein, and I thank you, Gary, for also, like I told you last time, you said it, when it hits the news cycles again, hey, it'll probably be back on the stage, and it did. So I commend you for that, because there's a lot of people that's still scared to have this conversation, and I'm not a Democrat or Republican at this point. I'm an independent. I voted Democrat in the last election because they had the best options for us, and that's why you see the mug in my PTR, because you had a choice. We all had a choice. The choice was right there for you. You can say, oh, I didn't like her policies, but you didn't know the other guy's policies outside of immigration and Epstein files. Now he's doing great with the immigration, even though he's harassing everybody. And now we're watching him duck out on Epstein files. So he's 50-50 right now. But the last candidate would have been better, and you would have been able to sleep a little bit better at night, regardless of how you feel about our international affairs. But the truth of the matter is, we're now watching them, and I mean them as the Republican Party. And shout out to Marjorie Taylor and the other few women that actually stood up for this. And I'm glad women stood up for this. Because it would have been really sad if we watched some hands-made tale of women actually not wanting to stand up for women because of their color that they wear on their top. So I'm very honored to see women standing up for this. But I think it's time for the American people and even the people in this room that find the opposite side of every argument to argue to realize this is probably not the argument to have that argument with. Those women deserve justice, just like your child would deserve justice. Just like you wouldn't want any rich man to ever walk past your daughter and grope her with his eyes, regardless of how wealthy he is. And if you are that type of guy, then you're a terrible person. And I'm okay with saying that because I would like to protect women. Hey, Gary, again, Meryl, can you come off with, if you are in here, I would like for you to come off of mic so I can apologize to you.
Well, she heard you apologize. She's here on the stage. Thank you, Chris. Chris brings up.
I don't need acknowledgement. I just need to get that off. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. By the way, I'm sure she appreciates it. So I think Chris brings up a very interesting point because I mentioned correctly that the president never specifically mentioned that he would go after Epstein. But he did, as Chris pointed out, repeatedly promise to go after pedophilias. He actually created, by, I think, executive order, some programs in the Justice Department during his first term of office. He later pledged to go after pedophile rings and traffickers. He did say in 2020 that he was, quote, saving the world from a satanic pedophile cult, close quote. Now, I don't know where we've ever seen publicly such evidence of a pedophilia cult verified than what we are seeing today with these women coming forward and with the convictions of Epstein and Maxwell. This is not a conspiracy theory that was just proved that a pizza restaurant near the White House had a secret tunnel and a dungeon where they were keeping children, so that when the Clintons ordered pizza, whatever they put on the order was code for what type of child they wanted sent over through a tunnel that extended from the pizza parlor to the White House. And as we all know now, that after that unfortunate man went to save the children, it was just a storage room and there was no basement and it was all made up. This is something that's not made up. This is something that's really, really happened. And yet the guy who claimed that he's going after saving us, not just going after, saving us from satanic pedophile cults, calls it a nothing burger, says it's a hoax. Again, a major contradiction. We are now at 6:01 p.m. Eastern time, so we will no longer be inviting people onto the stage, but we go into extra time to give everyone on the stage an opportunity to speak. And we now go to Yang.
Hi, Gary. I mean, at first, I really don't understand because, I mean, Trump's been in DC for 10 years. I mean, he knows how politics works, right? But then I kind of like thought of that. I think that, I mean, eventually Trump and America want something, I mean, very similar, right? So they want to during the swarm, they want to tear down this establishment. But I mean, in the mind of Trump, he's having a war with those people, right? So I mean, I agree. The previous guy saying like this file is leverage he has, which he can use them to control and fight against them. I mean, what he always say, like you don't have cards, so why would you give up the cards to? For this battle, right? So I don't think it's personally about protecting himself. I mean, he's already committed villain for having sex with a porn star, right? How bad it can be compared with that, right? So I think I think from his mind, he's playing a longer game. I mean, he's in DC for 10 years. He knows how to play politics with those people. So he thinks this is a battle which obviously he can sacrifice for the ultimate purpose of eventually tear down the establishment. I mean, whether or not he will become a new establishment, we don't know. But right now, I think this is obviously what has happened. I mean, in terms of why he is so against his base, I think two reasons. The first one is like, I mean, campaign and governing are very different things, right? During campaign, you can say those very, wishful, you get your wish list, right? But when you govern, you have to be very careful. You have to be very calculative about each steps about how to achieve that goals. I mean, for those, people who say, "Oh, release the file." I think, to be honest, for a lot of those congressmen, they may secretly hope that file not got released. They just want Trump to look bad, because I think they also have very strong connection with those rich and powerful people. It's only the fact because they know Trump can hold those Republicans for now, and then they can just blame Trump for not releasing the file. So I wouldn't give them credit for saying that release the file. I mean, from the Trump's perspective, I think he's confident that he has his base, so he can disobey his base a little bit, but it was this point. I mean, even during the peak of this like scandal, right? So I think his approval among MAGA and Republicans still like, if not 100%, but 90 to 95%, right? So from a pure tactical perspective, he has his base, and he can disobey his base a little bit without losing too much support. Why give up a car and then not using his car to his advantage? It just doesn't make any sense. So I think basically what happened is he made a deal with a lot of those people, and he uses as a leverage to press them to do things that he needs them to do. Maybe someone even in the Supreme Court, for example, maybe, we don't know. And now he has his tariff agenda. Maybe he's using this as one of the leverage. You never know, right? So there are so many things. I think from his perspective, he repeatedly say, let's focus on the big picture. So this is his agenda is a full MAGA agenda. So he's using this tool to achieve ultimate goal. I think at the end of days, when he achieved his objective, then those leverages become a more of a political liability for him. He may release a file. Yeah, so that's what I think.
Thank you, Yang. Diogenes.
Yeah, some of you may be familiar with the work of Whitney Webb. She pointed out that, first and foremost, Jeffrey Epstein was a financial criminal. He dabbled in sex trafficking. An important distinction that we need to make moving forward is that pedophilia is a term that comes from psychology and is used to diagnose individuals who have an attraction or exhibit an attraction to minors 13 years or younger. There is no accusation that Ghislaine Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein was involved with minors of that age. What they were in fact convicted of was crimes related to girls who were under the age of 18. This is not a defense, but it's important that we understand the definitions. Ultimately, it's ironic that we're talking about whether or not some files should be released that may or may not shed light on whether or not Jeffrey Epstein had ties to important individuals who are currently representing us in holding powerful and important positions, including top secret clearances in our government. In 2008, there was a tidal wave of fraud. A tidal wave of fraud. Most of that fraud is right out in the open. Multiple people lied in testimony to Congress, which is perjury, it's a felony. And most of the large banks and financial institutions committed some kind of fraud. No one, not a single person has been prosecuted for that. Charges haven't been brought. Indictments haven't even been brought against those people. And so I do want to stress to listeners who are sitting here wringing hands and clutching pearls about whether or not some files should or should not be released and why Trump may or may not suddenly have reversed his position on this, that even if the files were released today, and the files said clearly these people were involved, which they won't, they couldn't. The so-called files could only ever be evidence. You wouldn't do anything about it. You, the public, won't do anything about it. You're all desperately hoping some bolt from the blue. You're hoping that some evidence will suddenly be released and broadcast to all of your telephones. At the same time, you'll get a push notification that will tell you, guess what? Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile. Not just someone who engaged in inappropriate grooming behaviors with women who worked for him, but he was actually a pedophile. And here's video evidence. Verified video evidence of him raping children. Now we're going to do something about it.
So how do you know what people, how do you know what people in this room or in the general public are hoping for? You have no idea of knowing what I, Alan, Merrill, Howard, Scott, Dismal, David, and Jane are hoping for. So get off your high horse and make your commentary without trying to put words in the mouths of other people here, all of whom are very good at articulating their feelings and do not need your help to do so.
You don't need to be offended or defensive about this.
I am not being defensive about it. I am telling you that it is offensive to think that you are in a position to speak on behalf of these other people. If you want to ask people what they feel and what they hope will occur if these files are released, that's fine. But don't try to speak on their behalf. Speak on your behalf.
Sure, I'll rephrase. So ultimately, the public at large hopes and prays that someone else will handle everything. We don't need to go looking for bogeymen. We don't need to go looking for hidden evidence of felonies. Some of the most unjust things that have happened in recent history happened right out in the open, and they were financial crimes. They remain unprosecuted. There are no conversations about the failure of prosecution.
What does that have to do with this?
So if you're going to keep interrupting me,
I will, because I'm moderating, and I am moderating. And sometimes the moderation requires, when people fall off track, to redirect them. And so if I'm incorrect in me asking you to redirect, you can tell me so, but what does that have to do with this? Are you trying to throw in whataboutism to try to take us off the topic at hand, or are you actually attempting to make a point that someone might learn something from?
I don't understand. So let me help you understand, Gary. You are looking for bogeymen right now.
Thank you very much for after I asked you to not speak on people's behalf, speaking on my behalf. Who the hell are you to tell me what I'm doing, what I am looking for? I just got through telling you, ask. Don't tell me what I'm looking for. And by the way, sir, since you tried to lecture us, by the way, Alan, you're next. Since you tried to lecture us on the definition of pedophilia, you are correct that in a medical sense, the term pedophilia refers to the desire to have sex with children younger than the age of the children or the young people who were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein and God knows how many other people. However, in the legal sense, which is all that matters here, if you review any of the statutes, go to any of the federal statutes, go to any of the state statutes, having sex with a minor who, under the definition of the statute in the jurisdiction involved, who is under the age of consent, exposes yourself to prosecution for pedophilia. So it is not a mischaracterization to call this a pedophile ring. But thank you for at least pointing out you are correct that in a medical sense, you are absolutely right. A person who doesn't commit a crime can be a pedophile if he has these kinds of desires to have sex with children. From a medical sense, that's true. And a person such as that could undergo psychiatric treatment without exposing himself or herself to prosecution. We're not talking about what's in the minds of people. We are talking about the actions of people and the legal definitions. But thank you for trying to change the topic. And unfortunately for you, you were unsuccessful. Alan.
Gary, your skill at moderating is something to just behold. Even when I disagree with you, I have so much admiration. I agree the way you handled that. Gary, I need to apologize to you. The day that you removed me from the stage, it actually was me. I was pretexting, and I will never do it again. I had worked out something with another one of your moderators who was not here at the time, which partially caused the problem, but I was doing a Nixon impression. And because I was trying to promote something else that I was doing. So I apologize for that. I think pretexting should be out of your room as well as mine, but that's yours to do. I was really inspired today by the autonomy these women showed in the press conference. They are going to take control of their situation regardless of what the president does, and that is great. And I think we should all recognize that the only way when you're powerless to have power is to just fucking take the power. I am not at all scared. Of course, I'm not really a Democrat. I'm actually a Republican in hiding, but I'm not at all scared that the Democrats are going to be found out in the Epstein files because the Democratic Party is not a cult. Unlike the Republican Party, which is a cult. And I'm not saying every Republican is a cultist, but clearly these women who are signing these petitions now, like Boebert and Green, sure, they need the cover, but it doesn't matter if they don't get the final signature. And so I think Mike Johnson is a coward, and I think he has demonstrated his lack of concern for America's women. And I think that if we get the full number of signatures, I'll have more respect for Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But right now, if you count noses, it doesn't really matter, right? Does that make sense?
Well, I really love your initial comment that you respect, and I didn't mention this, and I'm glad you did, because I was remiss for not making this observation. You respect the autonomy of these women who are taking control of the narrative and taking the control of their lives and not waiting for Congress or waiting for the president to do the right thing. Their comment that, basically, F you, if you're not going to release the information, we'll compile our own list and try to stop us because you can't, because we are too strong in numbers. And again, I just think it was terrific that several of the women, when they went to the microphone, called on other victims to step forward. And I bet some of them will. They may not publicly step forward, but I bet they contact that attorney. I hope they do. I pray they do. It'll be good for them if they can do anything to take control of their lives back, because when something like this happens, as several of the women pointed out, the therapy that they had to go under, part of their life is stripped away from them that will never be returned. Imagine if it was your daughter or my granddaughter, God forbid. They would change their personalities forever. These women are rising above one of the worst kinds of adversity anybody can experience, and bravo to them, and I'm glad you pointed that out. With regard to Mike Johnson, it's become abundantly clear in this case and in all the others that the one thing Mike Johnson wants more than anything else is to remain Speaker of the House. And so he will do whatever it takes to please the president, to ensure that the president not orchestrate a congressional coup to remove him, which by the new rules that the Republicans themselves established is a relatively easy thing to do now. So I think that's his motivation, and we should recognize that, and I'm glad you pointed that out as well, Alan.
I need to give Yasi part of the credit for showing it, reminding me of this thing. Also, no punishment for bad behavior is the new rule in the Republican Party. This whole crap about therefore the rule of law, sending people into Chicago, when the president himself was told by a court yesterday here in California that he had violated the law, and yet it doesn't matter because he's already done it, and we're past the time limit. So I think anytime the Republicans want to say that they are for the rule of law, we should just laugh their asses out of the room, because they've proven they're not. That's kind of my feeling on that one. And again, I apologize for the pretexting the other day. This platform is so unstable. Sometimes it's hardly even worth working with. But you do a great job. Thank you for having me on your stage today.
Thank you, Alan. Dismal.
Thank you, Gary. And I want to not repeat what others have said, so I'll just acknowledge I really appreciated what Dr. Francine and what Chris said on the stage. I will agree with Ellen. I think that the women that showed up today not only demonstrated bravery, because many of them did face direct threats, harassment, and attempts to discredit their stories and other kinds of intimidation that were designed to keep the truth hidden. And it reveals a terrifying abuse of power, and that extends beyond the original crimes, but on their ability to actually get and receive justice. But I think just because you brought him up, Mike Johnson, initially on the Epstein files, his story was he wanted maximum transparency, and he then converted with balancing privacy for the victims. And what happened? I have to applaud basically the supporters that brought these women to Congress, because these women have now upended that story, that narrative that he wanted to paint, that he's protecting the women, because he can't now state that when the women themselves, the victims, are actually demanding the transparency. So I think that was actually a brilliant move. But what I wanted to actually raise is my concern with what the Epstein story has done with regards to Trump's decision making and that of leadership, because I think in recent months we've witnessed a very troubling pattern where whenever there are sensitive issues like the resurfacing of the Epstein case entering the public narrative, instead of addressing the matter directly and thoughtfully, there seems to be this attempt to basically divert public and media attention by making bold and swift actions like the sudden military strikes on Iranian nuclear sites in June, or the aggressive attention, even today, for example, the move for deploying the National Guard to Chicago was made during the actual conference that was occurring. The timing just suggests that there's this unwillingness to make fully deliberated decisions. And that's what concerns me, especially with regard to how are we spending taxpayer dollars and what does this mean for national security as a whole? I think we need to, for the health and welfare of our society, we need to call into question how these decisions are being made. We need far more oversight, unfortunately, than what our current members of Congress have been offering. And if this could create more concern and more oversight by creating this wedge issue, getting people that have been thus far very avid supporters of Trump to say, wait a second, he hasn't been very transparent on these issues, so maybe we need to scrutinize others. I'm all for it. Honestly, this wasn't something that I've been tracking as closely. My understanding from discussing this issue with others is that there have been podcasts going on about this issue for years, and to be quite, this just wasn't something I had been tracking. So I don't want to pretend that I was an expert. I'm sort of listening to the stories unfold now. I care more about the broader decisions for our country, and I just don't want there to be a haphazard decision made just to create and divert our attention from this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dismal. And for those who are trying to get up on the stage, I appreciate your interest, but we're past the time where we can bring folks on the stage. However, feel free to click on the link above, join the chat on Facebook Messenger, and make your feelings known there. David.
Thank you. I've missed a lot of it, but thank you for the topic. And to the person who used 2008, I think the only minors that were hurt by that were the ones that lost their inheritance. But to use that as a comparison is so apples and oranges that it's upsetting to even hear it. I don't have it in front of me. I'm in the car, but when I read, I think it was the FBI or whoever opened Epstein's safe after he was unalived. There is evidence in that safe of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of pictures, digital, CD-ROMs, money, records. There's enough in there to put a definite answer to what happened and who did it, just from what the FBI has there. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Yeah, nobody is interested in revealing the names of the victims or, God forbid, the images of the victims. We want to know who the perpetrators are. And by the way, the more I think about Diogenes' diatribe, how do I pronounce that? Diatribe, thank you. The more I find it offensive, because it's dismissive of the concerns for the victims. Just totally dismissive. And how can we, any of us, be like that? I just don't understand.
And I want to say really quickly, just because he died, certain victims were about to get some monetary compensation, and that vanished with his death. There was a huge amount of money in that estate, certainly that should have gone to the victim. So there's a lot there to deal with.
You are correct. Thanks for bringing these issues up in a very succinct manner. Meryl, you get the last word.
Jane. Is Jane still on stage?
Nope.
I don't want to take up her time. Okay. Very quickly, Chris was right. I did forget to say that to address yes, I do want Congress to release the files. Yes, no, I don't. To the other gentleman, I do not hope and pray for whatever it is that he thought I was praying for. And I do, regarding Congress, I think, and victims, I think we forget, and I tried to make this point. Those victims were also victimized by Ms. Maxwell. And this president interfered with the actual, what the intent of the sentence was. And that was just one more. Some of those victims did testify, and that was just one more attack on those victims, because it's also given her the opportunity to say they are all lying. So I wanted to make that very clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Meryl. Folks, we're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time, so until 5 p.m. New York time tomorrow. For the next edition of the Critical Thinking Forum, everybody be safe, be well, and peace out.
Yeah, that's fine.
My mother told me.
This is a very consistent Republican thing. For now, we're talking over 30 years. So, but it's even a lot longer than that. But just in recent history, that's what it is.
And then there are things that they do subtly, like Ramona mentioned, voter ID, which is a very exclusively Republican effort to disenfranchise people from voting. There's also gerrymandering, which moves around districts and makes it funnel people into certain areas where it's difficult for them to get to vote. Locally, there will be instances where areas where black folks disproportionately vote, voter machines happen to be limited and or not working. I know here in Georgia, there were instances in certain places where the cords to the machines were missing for a great deal of time, and the machines weren't on. Now, that may not seem like an issue to you or I, or some of us, but when you're waiting in line for 3 to 4 plus hours to vote, right, you get discouraged from going to vote, even if you actually didn't make the effort to go out and do that. Most people leave, even if they say, hey, listen, you can come back. There's still a chance that less people are going to come back than were here. Right. So those are all underhanded things to keep people from voting. On the other side of it, and I think I may be taking for granted what we have here in Georgia, or more specifically in Atlanta, but during the pandemic and during the 2020 election, they opened up State Farm Arena where the Hawks play, and had voters machines during early voting where people could go and vote. And that is what made the difference in Georgia, as far as I'm concerned. Among a number of other things where they dump money into local projects like Georgia Voter Project, Georgia Black Voters, Stacey Abrams program. So there is a number of things that could happen in order to do that. It's just that they pass laws now where you can't even take people water while they're waiting in line. So, just little things like that to keep people from voting. So there is a pronounced effort to do that. And I'm sure in Louisiana, I'm sure it's much worse. So it's not a name. I mean, some of it is that they're just choosing not to go vote, but there is a reason.
Okay, so with all that in mind, just like when we talk about the perpetuance for black people to commit crimes and we get sentenced more harsher than other people, and we have these conversations, and I have these conversations with, my children and their friends. I said, if that's the case, don't commit crimes. I mean, why are we having this conversation right now? You understand the assignment, so to keep your ass away from that situation, point blank, period. So I'm just trying to figure out what, in the same vein, we got issues, and if it's making it harder for us to vote, then we have to come together as a community. I don't know that community. See, it's hard for me to talk on other people's shit. I try not to, because I'm not there and I don't know the hardships. But people who live there do know the hardships, and they need to try to figure out a way. If people want to vote, because do they want to vote? You know what I'm saying? Because I want to Google the turnout for the last election, and I can't because I'm driving. I'll Google when I get home.
I can tell you
But
this,
you
it's
gotta-
really low.
Yeah.
It's really low. It's low for a number of reasons. I mean, again, it's not just one thing. It's
Yeah, I get you. I understand. Yeah.
You got brothers who have felonies who can't go and vote.
Well, they're eliminated. Okay, let's put them on the side.
Or you've got people who just don't have access to vehicles. If my voting place is more than a few miles from me.
Yeah.
So the way that we try to balance that here is you. As a matter of fact, more specifically, Jesus took some buses into the hood.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say.
And
Yeah.
put people on buses to go and vote during the state election. So that was just one example. I'm just giving that because people know who he is. That's
Right.
an announced effort. That's a very direct effort to get people not only registered, but to get them actually participating in the process in general. But I don't know that Boosie is going into his neighborhood because he can't vote himself. But chooses to endorse, at least verbally, Donald Trump, which is a whole other problem. If you got people like that, where ignorance just begets ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
People are telling people that do listen to him that voting is not something that's advantageous for us. So there's a number of things. It ain't just one thing, but some people do go vote. It's just not. You're just not trying to get everybody to vote. You're just trying to discourage. You're just trying to discourage as many people as you can. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's just picking off numbers here and there. It's a numbers game.
Lisa, I got a question.
Yeah.
If you need an ID to vote, then people need to be out here. There needs to be community outreach so that you can get access to get that ID. It should become at no charge so that you can participate in the process, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're making you have an ID in order to participate, then they should be able to provide you with that ID. Period. That's it.
Wait, they should be providing you?
They should be making it possible that you are able to get the documentation that you need to go and vote if they're making it mandatory that you have that information in order to vote.
You know what? I don't know if anybody's done this. Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome, and have a good day. I don't know if anybody ever voted for yourself. Like, did you manually change the names of the candidates and just put your name on every freaking category? Has anyone ever done that before?
So what also happens during the process is actually there are different people. Our lieutenant governor and our secretary of state, who at one point was Brian Kemp, scrubs voter rolls. So if you've been on the roll for too long and haven't voted, it just
It takes a while. Yeah.
And then you have to go and re-register again. Again, it's just every little bit counts. That's all it means. And every little effort counts to take one more person off the roll just to vote. Because why? Because these people generally don't vote for us anyway. So what do we care if they vote?
Yeah, Rafa's brother just scrubbed the voting rolls again here. He just did it.
Well, there's a consensus because go ahead, brother. There's a consensus because you have to understand that even though you have multiple demographics, nationalities voting for such candidate, right? Whatever that is, whether it's a local election, whether it's you know what I'm saying? You have a primary, you have to understand that the individual doesn't know of the inner workings behind the scenes, who's related, who's not related. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things and who raised enough money for the campaign, who's your, you know what I'm saying? So there's so many different levels, you know what I'm saying, to that. And you know what I'm saying? You really don't have the final say of who you really want to be president or whatever constituent categories.
But I get that. you have to vote. Shit. I mean, whoever's on there, you might not like.
That's not the point. It's probably votable.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. You still got a number. Who's at the gym? I hear Trevor.
I'm sorry, that's me. I'm sorry. I'm putting at the grocery store.
Jealous. I'm just jealous. I'm hearing the bells and I'm starting to get a little bit.
My ass got this motherfucker on 5 and acting like it's on 9 or something. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Are you running? 5.0? Mouse? Are you on 9 incline?
I should no. No. I should be. If I'm at 9, I should be sprinting. But I'm not. I'm just out of shape.
I'm telling you, hey, don't worry about it. As long as you're on it, I don't even start feeling it or doing anything till it's time for me to get off. Then I want to get special and start running faster. And
you gotta mix it up.
I know I gotta do the hit, but it's just that's too much energy. I need somebody standing there next to me to monitor me, because I'll be like, oh God, here we go.
Monitor you? God is monitoring you. What you talking? He's spotting you when you're doing them. Never mind.
As long as you're moving. At least I just want to say, I check my voter registration every 3 to 4 months because they are scrubbing the voter registration.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I check mine every 3 to 4 months to make sure I'm still registered. And I've been registered since I was 18. So that's just
PSAs, because it seemed like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna be very honest with you. Maybe I should wait till I get to the 420 to start talking like this. But I'm really getting so sick and tired of the excuses. Because you know why? I was talking to Grampy the other day, and she was giving me all this wisdom, trying to get me out of my funk. And she was like, she was talking about, girl, you ain't seen hard times. I was like, yes, I have. And they're like, no, you ain't seen hard times. I had to get on my knees and scrub white folks' floors and all. And she just starts giving me the business. I had to pick cotton. I was like, you ain't, So what I'm saying is, like, I think we need to stop complaining. And we know what the obstacles are. We're clear. If you're not clear, then we need to start having PSAs in our community. If I have to, I don't live in the community that I want to serve, but I can put on my Adidas NMDs and start walking down the street. And no, I won't be knocking on doors. Never mind.
Okay, Jehovah's Witnesses, Lisa.
I was gonna be a bullet. You must have a bulletproof vest on, because you can't knock on motherfuckers' doors.
Sister Wife, you are not to be out here in no tennis shoes anywhere by yourself, because
you have to start knocking on doors and telling people, especially our population, because they have every fucking excuse for why they can't get this shit together. So I'm just saying.
I don't. Let's put it as like. When you're doing nothing wrong, I just feel the urge to just attack you.
And
I just hope you get the bad way.
And this guy is a shawarma eating kanafa bacon, financier. He's just an annoying person.
I'm just a narcissistic, selfish person. Yes, Buttercup. It's about narcissism. It's about you caring for your own ass, willing to sacrifice the Jewish people. We have a word for this. It's called couple. It's people that were willing to align with Nazis and sacrifice their Jewish brothers and sisters for their own sake. Let me break it down to you, Buttercup. They may kill you last, but they will also kill you. Because as much as you want to align with them, they will still see you as a Jew that needs to die. And when you will be attacked, you will pack your bags and you will come to Israel. Then, maybe then, after a few years living there, maybe you will have like a voice to speak out. Until then, we don't give a fuck about how you think we should live our life. You are not part of us. You are not an Israeli citizen, and I can have a lot of opinion about how you should be a better person and how you should destroy your life so we can build it better. But that is your life, and that is our life. And we keep on telling you that your statements are not humane, moral, or just. they're genocidal, they are hateful, and they're ignorant. And because you're a Jew, they're also, how do you call it, treacherous, like as a traitor. And this, the only reason that it could be that you are selfish with this moral supremacy, this white savior, whatever that bullshit. I'm not a shrink. You should go talk to someone. But please, don't use us to feel better about yourself.
It doesn't matter where she's going, my friend. Doesn't matter. She's doing harm. And your halas, it's also doing harm. No halas. Give me back my brothers and one sister that are still there. Go on your knees, surrender, and then we will halas. Until then, no halas, my friend. No halas. You're living in a dream. A dream.
Do your, I see that you're writing in your chat that your Palestinian friends are not going to the rallies because it's too extreme for them. Tell me, when did you and your Palestinian friends go out in a rally that has those extreme messages like release the hostages? I want to see a picture of you. You can blur your face with your Palestinian flags, with your Palestinian friends going out to the street of New York with holding signs saying release the hostages or saying Hamas is a terror organization. Or is this too extreme for your Palestinian friends?
To say Hamas is harming the Palestinian people also, and hijacked Jewish people and Israelis, even Arab Muslims and Christians from Israel and Thais and all kinds of people from the states of Israel. Instead of going and doing rallies and saying Hamas is the blame one, tell them to bring the hostages back, release Gaza from their indoctrination or whatever they are doing there, and that's it. But no, opposite. Stop the war, Hamas is to be there, they are good for the Gazans.
You know, Shlomi, she asked you why you offended by her. She also asked me in the chat, like, Danielle, but why, like, I'm not offending you. Why are you so offended?